Well guys, I'm back out here at the Hillbilly Hideout, back out in the Red Pine Forest. I'm here to show you a few things that have given me a bit of trouble with my HM130 as I've gone along. And you're probably saying to yourself, I knew it. I knew there were some issues with that sawmill. I knew he was going to tell us about it eventually. In actuality, most of the problems I've had with my Woodland Mills HM130 are the result of my own doing. I'm going to show you some of those mistakes that I've made today and how you might be able to avoid them. So let's head in here. Some of the things that have often given me trouble with this mill, as I mentioned, is because of my own, maybe it's my lack of knowledge or because of something I forgot to do. A lot of it stems from the blade. This blade here, when that thing gets dull, you'll know it. When that thing gets dull, replace it. When you think it's dull, replace it. Get it sharpened or get a new one. A lot of the headaches I've had here are because I get a little bit stubborn and I keep pushing that blade as far as it'll go. And eventually it turns into, let's head on over here, heads into these. These blades are done, obviously, and they're also broken. I've had a blade break twice on me. Now, whether it's because I pushed it too long or whether it's due to a manufacturing error, no one will ever know. But I can tell you one thing, both those blades were really dull and I kept pushing it. That is one of the biggest things, the biggest mistakes that I've made, and things that you should be aware of if you're trying to prevent mistakes from happening using your HM130. Now, other mistakes that I've made that I think will help you guys along. Let's open things up here, because the second point I'm going to bring up also revolves around the blade. This blade here, it is currently not tensioned. See that? It's not tensioned. The reason being, I was not just cutting. Last time I cut was 2 days ago. I take the tension off the blade every time I stop cutting for the night or for the day or whatever. Now, when I go to tension the blade again, instead of just leaving this thing shut, leaving the door shut and getting the torque wrench out and just torquing her up, I come in here and I clean things out. I never used to do this, and that was a mistake. Because what would happen is I'd get the buildup of sawdust here, maybe over there, depending on the species of wood, and that would actually end up causing some issues with the blade. Whether it specifically caused the blade to jump off the track or not, we'll never know, but it's probably one of the mitigating factors. What I do now is, every single time before I start up, open things up, I inspect the belts, make sure they're in good operating condition, and then I take the back of my hand, I run it along the back of the wheel, so these cast iron wheels, and I make sure that this blade is flush, the back of the blade is flush with the back of this wheel. And then I do the same thing over here. By making sure it's flush, when I go to tension up that blade, I know that it's being tensioned at the right position right from the get-go. So let's assume I went ahead, tensioned this up. And with the help of movie magic, it'll be done in, and just like that. So it's tensioned up. And so before I shut these doors here, fire up the engine and get it running, I roll this with my hand just a few times to double check that the alignment or the back of that blade is still flush with the back of both wheels. That one small little tidbit of info is probably the most important thing I can tell you from the mistakes I've made with this mill. That is when you are going to discover whether these wheels are still in perfect alignment or whether they need to be adjusted. It is much better, much cheaper, much quieter to find that out by hand than for you to shut these doors, assume that, oh, it's tensioned right from the start, it must be perfect, fire it up and have this blade go zinging off. Okay, so do that in order to avoid that mistake. Another thing I can tell you, this sign right here, 25 foot-pounds. When you're tensioning the blade, you need one of these. You need a torque wrench. It is not approximately 25 pounds, it is 25 pounds, foot-pounds. If you're guessing like I used to do, well, you're gonna have the blade fly off, and I don't know what these blades cost anymore, but I don't think they're 5 cents. So they're going to be expensive if you're doing that all the time. So using a torque wrench will save you. Other things that I have done and mistakes that I've made: not checking the lubrication for any plugs or any type of blockage before I start. When I turn this on, water should come out. Is water coming out of there? Anyone? Barely. Water is barely coming out, and here's the reason. I get the water from that barrel over there. That's got all kinds of sediment and junk in it and stuff that's washing off the roof going in there, and I'm pumping it in this tank. It is settling and it is getting clogged right at this fitting. I never used to check. I always just assumed, oh, water must be coming out. Well, we know what assuming does. So what I do before I start, holy smokes, must have had my Wheaties there today. What's going on there? There we go. So before I start, every single time I open that wide open, let the water flow out, give that a few little knocks here, and normally if there's any sediment, it works its way through. And then I go back and tighten it back down to the set position, which is right there. And look at that, that's the same position as before, and you can obviously tell water is coming out. So that's another thing I do. Another mistake I've done comes down to these log supports. When you buy your HM130, you get two different lengths of these log supports. This is the shorter one, and the longer one is right here. Okay, I use the shorter one mostly because I log, or I saw smaller material typically. This right here, I put these marks on it, 2, 3, 4 inches. What that tells me is when I have this positioned and I can see that 4 line, that tells me that this is approximately 4 inches above the bed. The reason I did that was I sort of guessed before. So I would have it about there and I would look and say, yeah, the blade looks like it's approximately, you know, ½ inch higher than this. I should be fine. Well, check that out. My guess was almost good, but about 1/8 of an inch off. I ended up hitting this. Not only did I cut the top of this, but I ruined my blade instantly. And you're probably saying, well, that's a mistake you only make once. Yeah, that's right. You only make it once, maybe twice. Ooh, success. You know why I haven't hit this one yet? Because after I hit the first two, finally smartened up, I put these lines on here. That way, when I'm just about to pull this trigger here, and I'm just about to look down yonder and start moving this mill over the log, I look and make sure the numbers that I'm seeing here are smaller than the number I'm cutting at. 4 inches right there. If I see that 4 line, I'm going to hit these. That's a mistake. Another mistake I've made, hopefully you guys can avoid. When you're going downwards or even backwards, so when you're pushing this mill and it's rolling, pay special attention to the height you're set at, 4 inches. Make sure it is well above the shortest thing on here. This is a 2x4. Make sure at the very least you're 3 inches above on this scale so that you're not even close. I can't tell you how many times I've frustrated myself, screwed up the blades by just being lazy. What happens is, let's say you finish the cut, the mill's down at the end, you're just ready to pull it back in order to make another cut. Well, instead of raising up the mill at this end and pulling it back and then lowering it back down to your cut height, you just say screw it and you pull it right back through, and guess what? You bump something on the log that's moved, or who knows, you bump something. That blade gets a little itty bitty kink in it, and guess what? It's garbage. When you cut, notice this one has a nice sharp blade. There's nice consistent saw marks. You get a kink in that, you're not going to have consistent saw marks. You're not going to have a nice straight cut. All right. So when you're going down the mill, double check, triple check, whatever, get in the habit of making sure your settings up here on the guide are well above whatever's going to be on the bed of the mill. Another mistake I've had, assuming I'm pushing the mill right through a nice piece of log, whatever it might be, maybe a piece of red pine like me, and the blade down there starts to slow down. That blade slowing down when I'm under full throttle, that is an indicator of a problem. Do not continue pushing right through that hard spot like I did many times, thinking, oh, it must just be a denser section of the log. Well, no. That mill, it's got 14 horsepower. It's pulling a very small piece of metal through that log. There is no reason it should be slowing down unless there's some sort of issue. Turns out the issue, in my case, was a dull blade. It just so happened to rear its head when the wood got really dense. Another issue that I encountered when that started slowing down was a worn clutch. That was the indicator for me. Why, you're asking, was the clutch worn to begin with? Well, you got to pay special attention to the things you're hearing when you get your mill fired up and let it idle. What you should be hearing is going to be a nice sounding engine. That right there is a good idling engine. There is no ping sounds. The only thing you might hear is the odd little bit of rattling. Hear that? Little bit of rattling, and all it is, it's just the door vibrating slightly. There's no other ping sounds. There's nothing else. If you hear a ping sound, especially coming from here, that is your clutch engaging prematurely. Having that engage prematurely might sound like this. Hear that sound right there? And hear how it went away? That's because it let off the throttle. If I had that idle just a little bit higher than what it is, you're gonna have that pinging sound. That is the sound of the clutch starting to engage, wearing it out prematurely. Check that idle so you don't make the same mistake I did. Another mistake I've made, and boy, I'm running out of breath here. This scale, this is a magnet. It moves. However, you start getting complacent and assuming that this never moves, well, what's going to happen is you're going to set this to, that's just under 4 inches. You're going to set it to that. You're going to cut a whole pile of material thinking it's all approximately 4 inches. You're going to be done with it and realize, great, that was 3.5 inches. I must have bumped this magnet. So my suggestion to you, avoid what I've done. Take your tape measure with you. Double check the material after you make your first cut before you make any fine-tuning adjustments. That way you're guaranteed the dimensions that are listed on here match the dimensions on your log. And if I haven't emphasized it enough, a sharp blade is critical. You're going to spend all your money, all your time investing in a beautiful sawmill. You're going to get it as level as can be. You're going to get the nicest logs. You're going to clean all the dirt off them. You're going to be doing all that nice setup work. And then you're going to push a dull blade through a nice piece of wood. You're going to ruin that blade. You're going to ruin that log, and you're going to be frustrated. Put a new blade on before it's needed. Very proactive measure. It has saved me countless amount of time fixing, repairing, readjusting pieces that I've screwed up just by putting a fresh blade on. And finally, the number one mistake that I made with this HM130 was not buying it years sooner. This thing has saved me, I figure, thousands of dollars in lumber material cost. If you go to the lumber mill, I know here in Canada, I buy a 2x4x8. I think you're getting close to, it's $3.70 or almost $4 Canadian. Think of that, $4 Canadian. That piece of wood is $4. I make those by the dozens. If you have a source of wood available to you, or maybe your neighbor has a source of wood and they'll give you a few pieces, mill that lumber up. It's going to be the most satisfying thing you can do, especially if you're using lumber quite a bit, just like I am. Number one thing, buy it sooner than later. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe if you're into that. I appreciate all the support from you guys, and we'll see you all next time.